Good evening, class. Let me hope you're all well. Kindly confirm that you can hear me and you can view my screen. Can you hear me and are you able to view my screen? All right. So for some of us who are in the previous session, we began on a topic or a subtopic within double entry, and we're handling errors, correction of errors. So we did the introduction and we went through the different types of errors, those ones that can that affect the trial balance and those ones that don't affect the trial balance. So I told you in this session, we are going to specifically look at the examples. We are going to start with that example that was in the notes. It's not in the notes, I think I'll share it with you. I'm going to share that revision question with you. It wasn't in the notes, it's just here in the slides. I noted that later on. Then we are also going to look at a past paper question that I've shared on the group. Just before we move ahead, the reason why we are having just a session to revise errors is because this is a highly examinable number. I'm going to just give you a run through. After we've done this example, I'm going to give you a run through of the sittings and how this number has been set in the previous sittings, so that you can appreciate that it is a topic that is highly examinable. So in case you have any questions, you have any inquiries, please feel free to ask. I don't want to leave anyone behind. I want us to be on board. So in our scenario, we have, we shall start with the required. It's always good to start with the required so that you know what you're going to handle. Required, we have to prepare journal entries to correct the above errors. Then prepare also a suspense account. So the following errors were found in the records of Rama Traders Limited for the year ended 31st May 2018. This was after preparing a trial balance that showed that the total debit was more than the total credit by 15,600,000. So from your interpretation, when you're told that the total debit was more than the total credit by 15,600,000 shillings, which side of the trial balance had the bigger total? Which side had a bigger total? That's something you need to note as you start off, because it will determine your suspense account. The total debit was more than the total credit by 15 million. So which side had a bigger total? So most of us are saying the debit side, which is quite correct. So which means for our suspense account, the balance is on the credit side. The suspense account, the difference is on the credit side. And we are going to see it practically when we prepare our suspense account. But also when we shall correct the errors, you're going to see that as we correct the errors. So note number one, we are going to move note by note. Note number one, the total of the sales day book for February 2018 has been understated by 5.6 million. The total of the sales day book for February 2018 has been understated by 5.6 million. So just to remind ourselves, at the beginning of these papers you are starting off, these books of prime entry we are taught. So what do we record in our sales day book? What do we normally record in our sales day book? Do we know what we record in our sales day book? Salome has told us the credit sales. Kaitesi, items we sell on credit. Good. Any other answers from members? At least 2 more answers. I need 2 more answers. Okay, Derek, credit sales. Okay, so the sales we make on credit are recorded in the sales day book. And everything we sell, if we sell anything and we receive cash, we take it to the cash book. But everything that we sell on credit, we record it in the sales day book. The cash book only has what we have sold on cash. Similarly, for purchases, the purchases we make with cash, we shall record in our cash book, and the purchases that we make on credit, we shall record in our purchases day book. So we've been told this sales day book, which means our credit sales were understated by 5.6. So from your understanding and in our previous session, do you think this error can be detected or affected the trial balance? It caused an imbalance in the trial balance. Did it cause an imbalance in the trial balance, or it didn't? From your understanding of the errors that we went through in the previous session, I'd want to see answers in the chat. Joseph is saying it caused an imbalance. We are about, I think, 14 or 13. What do you think? Did it cause an imbalance? Feel free, every answer is okay. I encourage you to give your answers, because even if you give a wrong one and it is corrected, you will never forget the correction. So please give what you think. Yes, Joseph, for note number 1. Bruce is saying no. What do we think? I so far have answers from 2 people and they are different answers. Kaitesi, no. One more answer. Then we see, then we move ahead. Joseph has explained to us that it would be understated on the credit side by 5.6. Gabriel is saying no. So, friends, this word understated, this one, is already an indicator that this has affected your trial balance. It has affected your trial balance. And for every error that affects your trial balance or is detected by the trial balance, we create a suspense, an entry to the suspense account. So this is how we are going to do it. Let me share the Excel. Let me share the Excel and I show you how we are going to do it, how we are going to correct that journal. So for our answers, we shall have, this is our answer. We shall have Rama Limited journal entry for correction of errors. So it's like your normal journal entry that we did, but this time it is just journal entries for correction of errors. We are just correcting errors. We are not doing all the other journal entries. So we have Rama Limited, and note number 1, we've been told the sales, a figure in our sales day book was understated. So definitely our sales are on the credit side. So sometimes I encourage students to start off with, especially for errors that affect the trial balance, start off with the account that you're conversant with, if you know which side it is falling. For example, we know sales are on the debit, on the credit side. Sales are on the credit side. So they were undercast, which means, for example, if those sales were supposed to be 15.6 million, in our trial balance, we only credited 10 million and left out 5.6 million. So 5.6 million, we shall credit it again on the credit side of the trial balance, of the journal entry, sorry. Then, since it affects the trial balance, we shall have a suspense account here. Suspense account. We shall debit it with 5.6 because we don't know yet. We need to correct this. We need to determine where this is going. So suspense account, sales account. That is our first entry because it affects our trial balance. Then we have number 2, not number 2, not number 2. A purchase of office furniture of 4.8 million was included in the purchases account. A purchase of office furniture for 4.8 million was included in the purchases account. Does this error, is it detected by the trial balance or it's not? You have your purchases of office furniture and the normal purchases. Does it affect the trial balance? Joseph is telling us it doesn't. Kaites is saying it does.
It affects office furniture is a non-current asset.
So someone is telling us here, Joseph is saying it affects the trial balance, it's an error of principle. So I want to take you back. I want to take you back a little. Let's first go back to these errors. Let's first go back to these errors. Let's just take a run through and their examples. You asked for the notes, I shared them. I don't know whether I went through them. You had time. I know you're very busy people, but try to go through your notes. That's why you really need them. So let's go back to the errors and just run through them as we answer these questions. Let's start with the errors. Errors not affecting the trial balance. So we have an error, errors of omission. Errors of omission. Errors of omission arise in situations where a transaction is completely omitted from the books of accounts. Now, in the scenario we had in Roman number 1, it is very easy for you to think it is an error of omission. It is not. It wasn't an error of omission because there was an amount that was posted in that transaction, but it was understated. Omission means you didn't completely put any amount. That transaction was completely out of the what? Of the journal entries. But understatement means, or overstatement, means the transaction was reflected in the journal entries, but the what? The figure was wrong because it was either understated or overstated. So omission is different from the example you had in Roman number 1. So it is easy for you to think this was completely omitted, so it's not affecting the trial balance. No, that is wrong. So omission, we need to understand. We are given an example. The sale of goods of 500,000 shillings on credit to Joseph has been completely, I want you to note the word completely, omitted from the books. So that is error number 1, that is not detected in the trial balance. So if you're given a scenario, like I said, in the examination or right now in the examples we are going to see, you'll have statements like this particular statement. The sale of goods of 500,000 on credit to Joseph has been completely omitted. So it is your interpretation of English that is going to either save you or take you down the drain. So completely omitted, you completely know that is an error of omission. Salome, always check your mic, try to be muted. I think your mic omits itself. So here we debit Joseph's account and credit the sales. That one we saw. So we have an error of commission. Errors of commission arise in situations where the correct amounts are entered in the books, but the wrong account. So here we have correct amounts, wrong account. Goods bought from John Katend on credit of 208,000 are credited to the account of John Musoke. So both of them are what? Are creditors. The amount is right, but instead of posting the entry to the right creditor, we posted it to another creditor. That is an error of commission. Please, I want you to note the language used, because also in the scenarios, in the notes, it will be like that. So there you debit Musoke's account, John Katende's account. You credit it. I will not go into those details. I just want us to look at the definition of these errors. So we have an errors of principle. This is where an item is entered in the wrong class of accounts. This may happen especially when the conflicting accounts have the same names or the nature of balances. Purchase of machinery worth 2 million is debited to purchases account instead of being debited to machinery account. So like Joseph shared, the Roman number 2 was an error of principle. It was the wrong class of account, but remember the purchases and that assets account, they all have a debit balance. So it will not affect your trial balance. It will not affect your trial balance. So what you need to do is to make sure that you take, you swap, you take back the amount to the rightful account. And you see the journal entries there. So we have errors of principle of compensating errors. This is where errors cancel each other. This happens in situations where an incorrect entry on the credit side cancels another incorrect entry on the debit side. For example, a sales account is overcast by 2,000, while the purchases account is overcast by 2,000. So you will get scenarios of overcast, undercast, etc. But if there are two accounts in that particular scenario and it is the same amount, for example, they've given us this particular example of sales account is overcast by 2,000, while the purchases account is also overcast by 2,000. It means those two are going to cancel each other, one on the debit side, one on the credit side. So the trial balance will not detect that. However, if they had just said the sales account was overcast by 2,000 and they are silent, in that scenario, that particular error has affected the trial balance. Or if they say the purchases account is overcast and that is it, it is affecting your trial balance. Or if they say the sales account was undercast. Actually, they can give you a scenario, the sales account was overcast by 2,000 and the purchases account was undercast by 2,000. Those two errors are affecting the trial balance. If you can see in this particular scenario, overcast, overcast. If you see undercast, undercast, it is not affecting your trial balance. But they can give you a statement where the sales account is overcast, then the purchases account is undercast. Those two errors are affecting the trial balance individually. Or they can give you a statement where it is only the sales account is overcast, and that is it. Purchases account is overcast, and that is it. That affects the trial balance. So I want you to also note that. But with practice, you'll be able to understand these errors, and I want you to really practice them, and you're going to see why. So we have the fifth error. This is errors of original entry. This is where original figures entered in the books of accounts are incorrect, yet the proper double entry treatment is consistently observed. Such errors cannot be detected by the trial balance since it would still balance. So let's see an example of that. The purchase of goods on credit from Hassan at 9,800 is entered both in the purchases account and on the personal account as 8,900. So the original figure is incorrect, but it was posted to the right account. It was posted to the what? To the right account. However, if in this scenario, for example, they had said the purchase of goods on credit from Hassan at 9,800 is entered maybe in the purchases account as 9,800 and on the personal account as 8,900. Automatically, you can see that has affected your trial balance. So in that particular scenario, it means in the purchases account, the right amount was posted, so nothing is to be tampered with, but we need to go to the personal account and correct the error that we made there. We go to the personal account and correct the error that we made there. But in this scenario where the trial balance is not affected, is the incorrect amount has been consistently posted in the right accounts from the very beginning. There is no difference. So which means we should just adjust these two accounts. There is nothing to do with the suspense account. So let's look at complete reversal of entries. This happens where correct accounts are used and double entry is completed, but each item is shown on the wrong side of the account. For example, a check paid to J. Okero for 5 million shillings. The double entry is completed by debiting the bank and crediting J. Okero instead of the reverse entry. So it will be, you'll have posted the right amount to the right accounts, but on the wrong side. I don't know whether you can understand me by what I'm saying. You have posted the right amount, which is 5 million, to the right accounts, J. Okero and the bank, but on the wrong side of those accounts. For example, in this scenario, you had to credit the bank, but instead you debited it. And you had to debit J. Okero, but instead you credited him. So that is complete reversal. That is complete reversal. So those are the errors that are not detected by our trial balance. So let's look at the other errors that affect the trial balance. Debit balance in the ledger having been entered as credit. Debit balance in the ledger having been entered as credit. For example, if you have a debit balance in your cash account, then you enter it as a credit. Remember, in the ledger account, you have, how can I explain it? In the ledger account, you have made all the entries, your T accounts, you've made all the entries. If it is bank, you have entered on the credit side, you've entered on the what? On the debit side, all the accounts that are affecting that bank. Then you get the balance of that bank. So you take that amount of the bank to your trial balance. So instead of if you put that balance on the credit side, yet it was a debit balance, that is an error that the trial balance is going to detect, because remember, you've already made your entries in that ledger, that account, the ledger of the bank. Then you're going to still go, for example, if in the bank you made purchases through the bank, you paid your suppliers, then you withdrew money maybe to your petty cash account, then you bought some machines, you bought some assets. Those are maybe 3 transactions, or you paid salaries, they're about 4 transactions. Then maybe you made some deposits there. You get your balance of the bank. But remember, you're also going to prepare accounts for maybe salary account. You're going to prepare the assets account. If you bought machinery, your machinery account. You're going to prepare your purchases account, you're going to prepare, which other transaction have I talked about? Any other transaction, you're going to prepare that account. And you're going to enter the balances of those accounts in your trial balance. So in case you swap, it means there is something that is going to cause an imbalance somewhere. For example, if these expenses that you made through the bank, you paid, you purchased, you paid salaries, what they tie on the debit side. Then you swap and take your bank on another side. Automatically, your trial balance will not balance, because now you're just entering balances from your ledger accounts. You're not dealing even with journal entries. You're not dealing with journal entries. You've already done that, and now you're giving us a summary. Then number 2, missing a balance when constructing a list of debtors or creditors. This one I explained. And you're going to appreciate this fact when we go to what we call control accounts. We shall look at a topic called control accounts. So if you have a list of debtors, for example, you sold goods to Musoke, you sold goods to John, you sold goods to Matovu, let's say 3 of them. Then on the list, you miss out Musoke. It means from that debtors list, you're going to get a wrong total. Yet those particular creditors also have individual accounts that you entered in the journal entries. So you're going to miss out an amount of data, get a wrong total, which you're going to give us in your trial balance. Yet maybe you're showing us a different sales total. Yeah, you're showing us a sales total that has all of them that you sold goods to them. Yet now this side you're showing us debtors who have less money. So it will cause an imbalance. Misinterpretation of figures and accounts. This one is the most common one. Yeah? You've misinterpreted, you've undercast, you've overcast, etc. Then error in computation of balance totals. Then you have transposition errors, e.g. recording 2,400 instead of 240. So all these errors, they directly affect your trial balance. The purchases or sales day book totals not posted to the respective purchases or sales account. The discount totals in the cash book or ledger accounts omitted from the trial balance or entered in the credit column of the trial balance. Posting a wrong amount to the account. Omission to post an entry. So also this one, I told you it can be two-way. It can be two-way. So you have to look at a scenario. But for you to easily remember or to differentiate as you're working out errors, at least I told you cram errors that are not detected by your trial balance. Because when you know those ones, if you see a scenario where those 6 don't fall, automatically it is an error that is detected by the trial balance. If you know the other 6, you can tell the other 6 that are not detected by the trial balance. It means for any other scenario that is presented to you, you will automatically conclude this is an error that is detected by the trial balance. So let's go back. Like I told you, we'll learn more from practice. So let's go back to the scenario itself. Let's go back to the scenario itself. We had a purchase of office furniture of 4.8 million was included in the purchases account. And from what we've seen, this is an error that is not detected by the trial balance. It is an error of principle. It is an error of principle. So by correcting it, we shall just go to those respective accounts. It has nothing to do with our suspense account. So we shall debit office furniture as we are supposed to do in the first place. We shall debit office furniture account with 4.8. Then we are going to credit, because remember we had debited it wrongly. So we are going to credit it, purchases account with the 4.8. That is how we shall correct that error. So let's look at scenario number 3. Let's look at scenario number 3. A check payment to a credit supplier of 900,000 was entered in the books as 1,080,000. A check payment to a credit supplier for 900,000 was entered in the books as 1,080,000. Do you think that error is affecting the trial balance or not? You can say no, yes. Is it affecting? Yes. Not affecting? No.
Yes.
Okay. Joseph is telling us, yes, it is an error of original entry. Then, Joseph, you're contradicting yourself. You're giving us the right answer, but you're contradicting yourself somewhere. Let me take you back to those errors again. Pardon me for moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Error of original entry. This is where original figures entered in the books of accounts are incorrect. Yet the proper double entry treatment is consistently observed. Such errors cannot be detected by the trial balance since it would still balance. So that is an error that cannot be detected by your trial balance. So Joseph, you had the right answer, but you had to say no. That was the answer. No, it doesn't affect the trial balance because it is an error of original entry. Remember, let's go back to the scenario. They posted to the right accounts. That's the bank account, and which account was it? I think it was a credit supply. They posted 900,000, which was the wrong amount, but to the right accounts. So what we need to do is go back. Let's see, what did they post? A check payment of 900,000. So the right amount was 900,000, but it was entered as 1,080,000. So it means they credited the bank 1,080,000 instead of 900,000. Then they debited that credit supplier because remember he was a payable, he's a liability. So upon paying him, they debited him. So they debited that supplier with 1,080,000. So we need to go back to these accounts and correct the error with the difference. So what is the difference between the 900,000 and 1,080,000? Quickly on our calculators, what is the difference between 900,000 and 1,080,000?
That's 180,000.
180,000. Thank you. Also in the chats, people are agreeing. So if we've established that the difference is 180,000, we are going to go back to the bank. Because remember, we credited the bank with a higher amount of 1,080,000. So right now, to get out the 80,000, what are we going to do to the bank? To get out the 180,000. Remember, when you pay a supplier through the bank, you credit the bank. So now we credited the bank with a higher amount of 180,000 instead of 900,000. So now we want to take out the 180,000 out of that transaction, that scenario that happened, because we've caused an imbalance in our bank account. So what do we do to the bank to take out that 180,000 from where we had posted it wrongly? What do we do?
I think we shall debit the bank.
So one of us is saying we debit the bank. And in the chats, we are seeing debit the bank, debit the bank. Good. That's what we shall do. So we go back and debit the bank with 180,000. So now if we paid a supplier, a credit supplier, we debited his account with this higher amount of 1,080,000. So now for us to get out the 80,000 difference, what are we going to do to that supplier's account? Are we going to debit it? Are we going to credit it with the 180,000? So we credit it. Someone has a question. I think it's please
yes,
ask.
good evening, madam. Good evening, madam.
Good evening. We can hear you well.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, how about you just post the exact amount instead of getting the difference? You just post the exact amount.
You have background noise. I can't hear you well.
My question is,
Yes.
Yes, how about you just post the exact amount of 900,000 instead of the difference in the two figures?
Okay, I get you now. I get you now. Let me see. Let me go back to the question. So, Mading, in these particular scenarios, we are doing what we call correction of errors. You're not doing journal entries like the original journal entries. The assumption is you made your original journal entries the way we learned them from the very beginning, went ahead to create your T accounts or ledger accounts, got the balances of your T accounts, posted them to your trial balance. And now you've presented a trial balance and it is imbalanced by 15 million.6. It is imbalanced by 15 million million.6, being that the credit side is less than the debit side by 15 million.6. Now, what the scenarios are trying to bring to light to you that, hey, this is where you made the mistake, okay? So for example, in this scenario, they are telling you, instead of posting 900,000 shillings, you went ahead to post 1,080,000. That was an error. So correct it. So for these particular journal entries that we are making in correction of errors, I'm not talking about journal entries the way we began at the beginning. No, we are correcting errors. In correction of errors, we only deal with the errors because now we've already prepared our original journal entries. We prepared the ledger accounts, extracted the balances from the ledger accounts, taken them to the trial balance, and now the trial balance is not balancing up. So now we need to correct these errors and make sure that our trial balance is well balanced. So we only deal with the errors, Mading. That's why we are not posting the original amount. If you post the original amount, you're going to just worsen the situation. So you correct the error and make sure that you try to balance off these sides, the credit and the debit side of your trial balance. Okay. So we shall debit our bank account because now we had pulled out more money than it had paid out. So we take it back. We debit the bank account by 180,000. Then we are going to credit this supplier's account who was not named. Supplier account by that same amount because now we had debited him with a higher amount, yet he's still demanding money from us because we paid him only 900,000. So we credit him. Okay. So let's look at another scenario. Look at another scenario that is scenario 4. A credit note sent to a customer for 450,000 has been omitted. So credit notes are given to customers upon returning goods. When they return to us goods, we've sold to them goods and they return them, we issue a credit note. So if a credit note was sent to a customer of 450,000 and it has been omitted, this points to returns inwards. So this is an error of omission and it doesn't affect your trial balance. So we shall come here. Remember we said returns inwards affect your sales, they reduce your sales, and when you sell, you what? You credit your sales account. So our returns inwards, we debit those accounts of returns inwards. Then we are going to, remember they are sales and they are sales on credit, trade receivables account, also by 450. Because remember, the assumption is you sold goods on credit, but this customer has returned some goods. Maybe they are damaged or there was something, maybe you had a dispute on your invoice, etc. So we shall go to another scenario. Number 5, Rama withdrew 5 million for personal use by check in December 2017. This amount was debited to both the bank account and the drawings account. What an interesting scenario. Rama withdrew 5 million for personal use by check in December 2017. This amount was debited to both the bank account and the drawings account. As you're dealing with errors, first ask yourself, what was he supposed to do? Or what were they supposed to do in that scenario? So let's start from there. When Rama withdrew 5 million for personal use, which account was he supposed to, which accounts was he supposed to deal with, and how? Which accounts? By how I mean debiting and crediting. Debiting and crediting. I need some answers in the chat box. I need answers. So Kaitas is telling us he had to debit drawings account and credit bank. Mading, debit drawings account. Noor, debit bank account. Salome, debit drawings account, credit bank. Joseph, debit capital, credit bank. Debit drawings, credit bank. Credit bank account. So we are all on track. We are all on track. There is a drawings account that we prepare in our ledger account. But also remember, I told you, what do you have in your normal debit balance? You have assets, you have expenses, you have drawings. So when you make drawings, you debit your drawings account. Because you've increased your drawings by taking on money, maybe from the bank, from cash. So in this particular scenario, Rama made the right transaction actually somewhere. He made the right transaction. He debited the drawings account. That was the right transaction. However, he blundered and debited the bank instead of crediting the bank. Because he was getting money out of the bank, he had to credit the bank. So let's move systematically. We have agreed he made the right posting to the drawings account, right? We have agreed with that. He debited it. So we have no problem with the drawings account, nothing. Now, the problem is with the bank account, which means instead of like debit credit, he debited. Definitely the trial balance didn't balance. It was affected because 5 million was meant to go on the credit side, 5 million was meant to go on the debit side. Debit side of the drawings, credit side of the bank. But instead, Rama went ahead to reflect bank debit side, drawings debit side. So nothing went to the credit side. Definitely our trial balance is not balancing. So, but in not balancing, the drawings account is clear. The problem is with our bank account. We have to correct the error made in the bank account. So how do we correct the error in the bank account? I need a volunteer this time to share with us. How do you think we are going to correct the error in our bank account? How are we going to correct the error in our bank account? So Joseph, is it okay for you to unmute and explain to our colleagues how you why you think we carry out that transaction like that?
I think the first thing to do would be to reverse the original error, which is crediting it back because you debited the bank. So you first reverse that by crediting it with 5 million, and then that would reverse that first error. And then the second one would be to credit the bank again by another 5 million to introduce the withdrawal that should have been there in the first place. So maybe you can do that, or you just combine and say credit bank 10 million. You can do one combined 10 million, or you can do twice 5 million, 5 million.
All right, thank you very much, Joseph. And that is the answer I was looking for. So we shall go ahead and credit bank. Like I said, when you're dealing with errors, it's better to start off with the side you're sure of, like you're really certain of. That's if you don't know the other account, which is normally the suspense account. So we shall credit bank account. We shall credit our bank account with, we shall combine the 10 million. And I hope we've all understood how we come up with the 10 million. Joseph has tried to explain that. The first 5 million that corrected the error, and the second 5 million, which is the right posting. So we credit bank with 10 million. Then we shall debit our suspense account with 10 million. That is the right correction of the error. So the last scenario, discount allowed of 3.5 million was debited to discount received account. This is quite easy. It is not detected by the trial balance. So we just reverse those entries. Discount allowed of 3.5 million was debited to discount received of the same amount. So we shall debit discount allowed. Why are we debiting discounts allowed? It's because I told you they have an expense nature. Discounts but also they affect your sales. They reduce your sales. So 3.5, then we shall credit. Because we debited the other time, we shall credit to get out this amount to correct this error. Discounts received account 3.5. So let's look at our totals. You realize that through the correction of the errors, we have balanced off our credit side and our debit side. However, we have to prepare a suspense account. We have to prepare a suspense account. And before we prepare a suspense account, let me take you back to the question, something that I pointed out as we're starting off, that this was after preparing a trial balance that showed that the debit total was more than the credit total by 15.6. So we agreed the debit side was bigger than the credit side by that 15.6. So our balance brought forward on the suspense account is lying on the credit side. Because when we prepare the trial balance, the 15.6 under suspense account, that trial balance that is in balance. Remember, from our previous session, I told you that when you prepare your trial balance and it is not balancing, you create a suspense account, which where you put the amount that is the balancing figure. So in this case, for this particular trial balance, the balancing figure of 15.6 was lying on the credit side. So it is our balance brought forward in the suspense account. So as we prepare our suspense account, we have a balance brought forward on the credit side. That's why I was pointing out this statement so that you take note of it. Someone was raising their hand. Sorry, I missed you. You can go ahead and ask.
Good evening, madam.
Good evening, Hamisi.
Now, madam, the last lecture was on and off, but I'm trying to inquire, how do we rate the suspense account? What should we consider maybe to debit and credit the suspense? I'm not well conversant with it.
Okay. Let me just give you an example. I think I had created a mini trial balance somewhere. That's a good question. Meanwhile, it's here. So what I'm trying to explain, let's say this is your trial balance. Is it Rama? Is it Rama? I think Rama Limited. So for example, if they made sales of 2 million, purchases of 10 million, machinery 10 million, expenses of 5.6, trade payables of 8 million. So in case you're presented a trial balance or you've prepared a trial balance and it doesn't balance, you have 25.6 million on your debit side, then you have 10 million on the credit side. That's when you prepare a suspense account. That's when you prepare or you include a suspense account to reflect the difference of 15.6. This is an example. It's not tallying with what the figures that we're using. It's an example. So
Madam,
this balance is relying on the credit side. Yes, please.
Madam, is it like a suspense account we consider when it is an item is understated?
Okay, so why we are ending up with the correction of errors? I walked you through how you come to correction of errors. Remember, we are dealing with double entry. I told you everything is built onto the other. You started with your journal entries. You prepare your journal entries, debit, credit, debit, credit, debit, credit, okay? You go ahead to prepare your ledger accounts or your T accounts. From those T accounts, you get balances either on the debit side or credit side of those individual accounts. You extract those balances, use them to prepare this trial balance, this thing here. For example, you will assume that your sales had a credit balance when you prepared your T account or your ledger account. Your sales had a credit balance of 2 million. Your purchases had a debit balance from your T account of 10 million. Machinery had a debit balance of 10 million from that machinery account. Expenses, maybe expenses don't have one account. Let's say rent expense. Rent expense, we can use that. Had a debit balance of 5.6 from that ledger account. So you're picking those balances from your ledger accounts to your trial balance, ledger account to your trial balance. Then your trade payables had 8 million credit balance. So after you've entered these totals in your trial balance, you realize your debit side has 25.6 as its total. And your credit side has 10 million as your total. It means there are errors. Within these transactions, there are some errors or these balances as you are entering your ledgers. Like as you're preparing your ledger accounts, you made some mistakes, you made some errors. So since you're on the final point of creating your trial balance, what you do, the accounting standard allows you to create what we call a suspense account. Now, in this case, this suspense account is meant to balance your trial balance in a temporary state. In the meantime, the suspense account is to help you to balance off your suspense account. So we put that balancing figure on whichever side. It may lie on your debit, it may lie on your credit. In this particular scenario, it's lying on your credit. What do I mean that it may lie on your debit or credit? You may have maybe, let me just delete this. You may have, let me increase your payables total. Maybe by 30 million. So you have 32 million here, you have 25.6. And here you have a difference between these two. You have a difference between these two. Okay, let's create a difference between these two. $32 million minus 25.6. 32 million minus 25.6. What is our figure? 32 million. $6.4. So your suspense account may have this on this side, a debit balance. It can be this side, it can be on the debit side, it can be on the credit side. But in this particular scenario, we are having our imbalance on, this was 25.6. And this was 8 million. So it is 15.6. So from here, when you realize there is this difference, that's when you go back. Where did I make the errors? Where did I make the errors? And the journal entries we've been making are to correct the errors. So we are correcting the errors. And at the end of the day, when we correct our errors, that's why we are required to prepare a suspense account to determine whether this 15.6 is going to completely go out of that trial balance. So let's look at the suspense account. But before we look at the suspense account, let's look at journal entries. Joseph has an inquiry. Joseph, you'll be writing your exams using hard paper and pens. We don't use Excel in the papers. You go into the paper, you're given the question paper and answer sheets. You have to have your pen, your calculator, then you sit and write. So you need to practice writing on paper. So when we are preparing our suspense account, please look at this. That the suspense account is only going to be with what is with the suspense account in your journal entries. These two. So when you go to your suspense account, you're going to debit your suspense account with 5.6. Then you're going to also, no, don't debit. You're going to credit. You're going to credit your suspense account with 5.6. No, I'm confusing you, pardon me. You're going to debit. You're going to debit, not credit, because it's lying actually on the debit side. So you're going to debit. Remember, I've told you the balance brought forward, according to the introduction, is lying on your credit side. So you're going to go debit 5.6 sales account in your suspense account. Then also you're going to debit 10 million bank account in your suspense account. And this is how it looks. It is also a ledger account. So we have our balance brought forward, lying on the credit side, and that is 15.6. Now we want to take out this 15.6. We don't want anything to do with it because we need our books clean and clear. So we shall come to our debit side. $5.6. Then also bank account or bank, 10 million. So we have a total of 15.6. And a total of 15.6. So it means this 15.6 is completely out. We shall go back to our trial balance and adjust these totals or present this suspense account that we have balanced off. So depending on the number of errors that have been committed or have taken place, you may have some errors also lying on your credit side, both on the credit and debit side. But at the end of the day, your suspense account has to completely balance off to zero. Like your total has to be this side, the total this side is equal to the total this side. So it means it has canceled. Everything is completely out. It's on zero. We don't have a balance in that suspense account. So that's how we move with errors. They are quite hectic, but with practice, you can become a pro at errors. And they are only testing your knowledge of double entry. They are testing your knowledge of double entry. Any question before we move to the next scenario? Let me see, I think we still have time. We are going to look at that question that I've shared on the group, December 2024. Any inquiry? I know we are still a little confused, but you'll get there. You needn't worry, you'll get there with practice. So I want you to first appreciate that this examiner of yours loves this topic of errors. Let me just look out for my past paper questions here. Just give me a minute. Give me a minute so that I show you that your examiner is really interested in this topic. They really love it. Hamisi, suspense account doesn't have a normal balance. Depending on the trial balance, for example, if whichever side has a bigger figure, if it is the debit side that has a bigger figure, your suspense account will have a credit balance. If your credit side has a bigger figure, your suspense account is going to have a debit balance. Remember, this is like, what is it called? Which simple term can I give it? It's like a buffer account for some of us who are scientists. It's like a buffer, it's just there in between to temporarily like give you some space to sort out yourself, to correct your errors so that you can balance off your accounts and ledgers at the end of the day. So when you prepare your final reports as a smart accountant, we don't expect you to have balances in your suspense account unless you have failed and failed and failed and failed. But if you have balances in this reporting period, even the next reporting period, even the next, people will start saying there is something wrong. This person doesn't know what they are doing. So you create like a buffer account to give you time to correct your errors. And that's why we prepare that final, after we've corrected our errors, we go ahead to prepare that suspense account to show that actually we have found the errors. And now these are the right entries. The sales were this much, bank was this much. And the money is completely out of.
Like, madam, what do you base on to put the balance brought down on the credit side?
Is this Hamisi?
Yes, madam.
Anyone who can volunteer to answer Hamisi? Anyone?
I think even.
Thank you, Joseph.
I'm thinking it will be the balancing figure on the trial balance, whichever side whichever side is undercast or less. I think that's where you put your the suspense account. I think.
Hamis, did you get that?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
All right. So it doesn't have a normal balance. It can either lie on the credit or debit side, depending on how your trial balance has been presented. So I want to share with you, I want to take you a run through This is the latest sitting of your paper, CPA, Financial Accounting, paper 1. So your paper normally looks like this. You have 3 hours and 15 minutes, and this is not a lot of time. It's quite little time. So 3 hours and 15 minutes, you have section A. The 15 minutes are for you to go through the questions. You're not allowed to write in those 15 minutes. Then after the 15 minutes, you start off. So you have section A and section B. Section A is given separately because it is multiple answer questions. There are 20 of them. The A, B, C, D, choose the most correct answer. And that one, you answer it separately. Then section B is what I'm going to show you right now. Section B, you have 5 questions and you have to attempt 4 of the 5. And each question carries 20 marks. Of that section B, remember section A, you had 20 compulsory multiple choice questions. So that is 20 marks plus the 4 80 marks, 100%. So now for your section B, I'm going to, for the topic of errors, I'm going to just give you a run through. For this most recent sitting, question number 6. Question number 6. I always start with the required. Part A, prepare journal entries to correct the above errors, carrying 10 marks, which means if you've not understood errors, you've already lost 10 marks on that question. You have to gamble with these others. So correction of errors, 10 marks. Question 6. We are not going to go through it. Maybe during our revision sessions, we shall find time. Then the sitting before that, which is December 2024, and that is the question we are going to look at. December 2024. December 2024. Still question 6. Question 6, let me look for it. Question 6. Explain any 4 errors that cannot be detected by the trial balance. 4 marks. Are you able to list at least 4 of them? There are 6 of them. 4 of them. The examiner only wants 4 of them, but explain. Don't leave them hanging. Don't bullet. Then let's look at the required, which we are going to look at, by the way, in the question. Part 1. Prepare for GTSL for the period ended 30th June 2024. Journal entries to correct the errors 1 to 9 above. 8 marks. 8 out of 20. Then 2, prepare a suspense account, 3 marks. That is already 11 marks. Statement of corrected net profit. This is very easy if you've worked out these 2. Very easy. That is the sitting after this, the most recent sitting. So those are 2 sittings consecutively. Errors. A question about errors appearing. Let's look at another sitting, which is I think August 2024, and see whether still the examiner brought the number to do with errors. But before we go even to errors, now it's still about double entry, where we've been coming from. Question number 6. No, this is the sitting we've just looked at. This is question number 6, August 2024. Prepare for Bwana Traders General Ledger accounts for the month of June 2024, 14 marks. These are T accounts, ledger accounts. Then B, the trial balance as at 30th June 2024, 20 marks. That is double entry. Actually, those are topics that we've covered so far. Then that was question 6. Then question 5. This examiner was quite stubborn in this sitting. Question 5. Required, prepare still for Bwana Enterprises for the year ended 31st December. Journal entries to correct the above errors 1 to 6, 8 marks. Suspense account, 2 marks. Bank account, 2 marks. Bank account is a T or ledger account. Statement of corrected net profit, we are going to look at that. Statement of changes in equity, you'll see that as we deal with financial statements. But for what you've covered, journal entries, correction of journal entries, suspense account, and the bank account, you can prepare it because you've already looked at ledger accounts or T accounts. Then we are also going to look at the statement of corrected net profit. That is those are 3 sittings consecutively, an error number coming. Now let's look at, don't worry, I'm going to share with you these past paper questions. Not the questions, but the years. I want you to learn how to access your iSPOW Students Portal, and you can download those past papers from there. November 2023. November 2023. November 2023. November 2023. I hope I have the right years. Meanwhile, I'm taking my time on this because I want you to appreciate this topic. If you find it hard, practice and practice until you feel at least you're somehow comfortable with it, because I don't want you to enter that paper without being conversant with correction of errors or preparation of ledger accounts. So August 2024, we saw that one. Let's look at August 2024. I wanted to give you another sitting, another sitting. Let me hope I can see it. Sorry, I have a booklet. That's why I'm taking time. I don't know which sitting is this. Let me look at the timing. This must be August 2023 because of the time. I think it's August 2023. But I also, in November 2023, those two topics appeared. So this must be August 2023. Required for Excel Nursery School for September 2023, post the above transaction to the necessary general ledgers, 13 marks. Then prepare the trial balance, 7 marks, 20 marks. That is the question done. Then let me see whether we have a number to do with errors. Still in the same sitting. Required, prepare journal entries to correct the above errors, a suspense account, corrected net profit, corrected statement of financial position. This one you needn't worry because we shall look at it when we look at the statements. So friends, I urge you, like, I don't know, I really plead. I know students are bored by this topic or they find it challenging, but for you who has gone to Apex Tax and Accounting School, I want you to appreciate errors because your examiner loves that topic. And if you find that a certain topic is recurring for every sitting, if you go back to those past papers, if a topic is recurring, it means students are failing. So the examiner has to bring it back to assess knowledge of students in that particular topic. And remember from our introduction, financial accounting is there to test your knowledge of double entry. And these particular topics, preparation of journal entries or ledger accounts, correction of errors. We are going to see also other preceding topics, subsequent topics rather. They are testing double entry. So the examiner will love to bring them back every sitting. You can see that from one sitting to another, from one sitting to another. So it can be quite dangerous for you to walk into that examination room when you can't try to attempt those two numbers. At least try. If you're not at 100%, try 70%, try 60%, try 80%. Than for you to go into the paper having ignored that particular topic and this number comes out. Remember, you have 5 questions. You have to select 4 out of those 5. So whenever you minimize the topics that you're conversant with, it means you're lessening your chances of passing. And CPA is not about joking and chilling. It's not about that. Here, when we are in class, things are different. When we go to the paper, people see stars. So, but for us, we would want to help you to appreciate that from the very beginning. That's why we are taking time on double entry. Where you don't understand, ask questions. And you can't ask questions without practicing. So for error,
Madam,
we're going to practice a lot. Yes, please.
Yeah, I asked a few questions in the chat there. I don't know I want just some clarification on the ones which, like I said, the errors that affect the trial balance, apart from the ones of, or rather the ones which are errors of commission and the ones of original entry. Is that correct? Or just trying to understand.
I beg your pardon.
The ones that affect the trial balance, are they the ones of errors of commission and errors of original entry, and then the others don't affect the trial balance?
It's the other way around.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the other way around. The
So-
ones
so
that
Eric-
you gave us an acronym don't affect
Mm.
the trial balance. Yeah.
All
So
of
if
them, all those
if you're
six.
conversant with those ones, then you can be able to identify the other ones that affect the trial balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then the other question was, when they say prepare journal entries, they mean in the same format as the general ledger, or and then when they say prepare accounts, they mean T accounts.
So when the scenario has prepare journal entries, it is like the other, what we have just done for correction of errors. It's like a list. You show what you're debiting and what you're crediting. Okay? Show what you're debiting, crediting for every scenario, debiting, crediting. Then if the scenario is asking you to prepare ledger accounts, ledger accounts or accounts for those transactions, then they want you to prepare what we call the T accounts or the ledger accounts themselves, where you have to determine the balance brought forward, balance carried forward, balance brought, what is posted on the credit side, what is posted on the debit side. So that is the difference. Journal entries is like a list. What we've done here, let me show you. This is what we call journal entries. I don't know whether, I think you joined, Joseph, you joined when we are doing journal entries. I remember you joined. This is what we call journal entries. This and this, this and this, that. But let me share the examples we did for journal entries so that this is correction of errors. So let me try to share what we did for journal entries. That was Kasango and Lokodo, those examples.
Yeah, I joined in the second lesson. I think I'd missed the first one.
Yeah, so let me just show you what the two are. Let me use Lokodo. Let me use Lokodo. Give me a minute. But also I know it's beneficiary to some of our colleagues who joined in later. Beneficial, sorry, not beneficiary. So these are the journal entries. You see this? These are the journal entries. When you're asked to prepare the journal entries, this is what you do. But
that's also how the general ledger looks, yes?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that's not what the general ledger looks like. So these are journal entries. And from these journal entries, we go ahead to prepare the ledger accounts. We go ahead to prepare the ledger accounts, and these are the ledger accounts. We prepare the cash account. We prepare the bank account, depending on the scenario, capital account. These are now the ledger accounts. Those particular questions that I've showed you in the past papers, prepare the ledger accounts. I think one of them was carrying like 13 marks. So these are the ledger accounts. Then from these ledger accounts, you go ahead to prepare the trial balance. You come from the journal entries to the ledger accounts to the trial balance. That is the what? The systematic way in which double entry is done. So for your examinations, the examiner is more interested in your knowledge of preparing these ledger accounts. And you can't prepare ledger accounts without knowledge of journal entry. So you prepare the ledger account, he's interested in ledger accounts, and preparation of the trial balance. For the past paper questions you've seen, prepare the ledger accounts plus the trial balance, 20 marks. Then they will examine errors, correction of errors independently. They will not mix them up with this. This is different. Then correction of errors, which we've been handling now, is also given maybe a different number. So we've seen for particular sittings where both are appearing. So what I was trying to bring out that if you have 5 questions and you have to pick 4, but you've not appreciated this concept of double entry, and this examiner has brought you prepare journal entries, rather prepare ledger accounts and trial balance, that is one question. Then another question is correction of errors. You're left with only 3 questions. And how sure are you that you can attempt those other 3 questions and get the 60% that from those 3 questions? So that's why I was emphasizing that we need to practice. And these concepts are grasped when you practice more and more and more. So I'm going to share that list of the past paper questions. I just want you go to those past paper questions, look at those scenarios, practice them. Where you don't understand, inbox me. Inbox me. For you to access past paper questions, you can connect with the admin of Apex. They have that revision kit. They have an already compiled revision kit. If you don't want to go through the hassle of going to the portal, now downloading them, now compiling them, printing them, you can purchase a revision kit from Apex. The other thing is for you to go to your CPA or iSPOW students portal. Log into that portal, go to your students account. You can access past papers as far as how many years, plus their solutions, they are there. So those are the 2 ways of accessing those past paper questions. But I would advise you to go with the first option, because this one is compiled for you already. And you can even print out a booklet if you want, but you can have it also in soft copy, and it is easier for you. All right, let's look at December 2024. Someone was saying they've not seen this question on the group. I shared it at the beginning of this class. Kindly confirm in the chat whether you've received that question in the WhatsApp group. Are you able to access that question in our WhatsApp group? Noor, I think are you on the WhatsApp group? Same for Sauber. Are you on the WhatsApp group? I think Noor has confirmed they've received it. Sauber, are you on the WhatsApp group? If you're on the group, the latest document that I've shared there, it's a PDF. It has errors. Actually, someone has reshared it. Someone has reshared it. Okay. So thank you very much, Emmanuel, for sharing the question. So this is December 2024. Question number 6, explain any 4 errors that cannot be detected by a trial balance. Those ones I've gone through a zillion times. And also Joseph has just inquired about them. So you'll just go back to your notes, read through, make sure you have them at your fingertips. All right, let me, Joseph, let me inbox CPA Innocent to do that. So let's look at the scenario. And from our required, I always encourage you to start with the required so that you know what you're picking out of your scenarios. We are required to prepare for GTSL for the period ended 30th June 2024. Journal entries to correct the errors 1 to 9 above. Then a suspense account and a statement of corrected net profit. So since we are time barred, I am going to just take you through this question. Then you're going to prepare that I just want the first two. Correction of errors, suspense account. For those that you can manage, I know there are some things that you may not manage, because remember when they are setting an exam, they are examining you on different topics, so they can incorporate some knowledge of some topics within a particular question. So Genuine Traders and Suppliers Limited, GTSL, has prepared its financial statements for the period ending 30th June 2024. Reporting a net profit of 5,540,200. So for the net profit, you don't need it for your journal entries to correct the errors and your suspense account. It will be in the statement where we correct the profit. However, the credit side of the trial balance exceeded the debit side by 18,750,000. I would want Hamisi particularly to tell us, where does this balance lie? Is it on the credit side or the debit side of the suspense account? The 18,750,000, is it lying on the debit side or the credit side?
It will depend on the figures we have.
No, read this scenario. However, the credit side of the trial balance exceeded the debit side by 18,750,000 shillings. So already they've given you where the balance is lying on your suspense account from this statement. So when you analyze it, where do you think this balance is going to lie on your suspense account?
It will be on the debit.
Good. It will be on your debit side. So which means you have understood the concept. It is on the debit side because the credit side exceeded, which means the credit side was bigger. It had a bigger figure by 18,750,000. Upon further investigation of the information, the following discrepancies were identified. So the examiner will try to use English to confuse you. So when they say discrepancies, it means errors. So number one, closing inventory on 30th June 2024 was valued at 14,250,000, and it was not accounted for in the books of accounts. So this is an error that does not affect the trial balance. So it is going to affect two accounts. the closing inventory account. Remember, I've told you there are some concepts that we've not covered before that may appear in a scenario, because when your exam is set at the end of your learning period, the examiner assumes you've covered all the topics. So they can incorporate like about 5 topics in one question. So we have a closing inventory. We shall debit closing inventory, and we shall credit the trading account or cost of goods sold account. So for this first entry, I may not expect you to really understand how to go about it, but I have given you the explanation. You will debit closing inventory because inventory is an asset. Then you will credit cost of goods, which is profit or loss, which you take to profit or loss. So number 2, which I'm more interested in also. The interest on the loan of 5,270,000 remained outstanding. So also this one, it doesn't affect your trial balance. So we shall debit interest expense account and credit interest payable. This is an accrual. When we shall look at a topic called accruals and prepayments, you'll understand that concept. Then we have 3. The utility bill expenditure was understated by 1.2 million. These are the things I was explaining. Do you think this error will affect your trial balance or not? Error number 3. The utility bill expenditure was understated by 1.2 million. Babiria is telling us it will. And she's right. You remember the explanation I gave you? That when they give you a scenario where there is understatement or overstatement and they are silent, they don't give you maybe another account, or it is just there hanging. It means there is an amount that was posted, but it was a wrong amount, okay? So it is not omission, it is not commission, it is not principal, it is not any of the other errors that you know that don't affect your trial balance. So it will affect your trial balance. Then number 4, the payment of telephone costs of 700,000 shillings was only recorded in the cash book. So if it was recorded in the cash book, it means your cash account has that amount. Yet, your telephone expense or telephone utility bill or no, telephone expense has not recorded that transaction. So cash will have the 700,000 and telephone doesn't have it. That is an error that will be detected by your trial balance. Then number 5, the purchaser's figure was undercut by 11,160,000. Now this one, I expect all of you to know. Does it affect the trial balance or not? Just say no or yes. No, yes. In the chat quickly. I'm already consuming your time. You're supposed to be off this call. But I want to run through these errors. Does it affect your trial balance or not? I want about 17 answers. Please try. So far I'm seeing good answers here. Yeah, at least that error, that one like that, I don't expect people now to really miss it out. So this one affects the trial balance. Then scenario number 6, the discount received of 1,308,000 was credited to the discount allowed account. Discount received of 1,308,000 was credited to discount allowed account. This one also doesn't affect the trial balance. You're supposed to go back. No. Always when you're dealing with an error, ask yourself, what was supposed to be done in the first place? Put that in your mind. What did they do instead? If it was right, no correction. If it was wrong, how do I correct that? So in that particular scenario, this doesn't affect your trial balance. You correct those two accounts. The advertising costs of 6,400,000 were recorded as 4.6, but were correctly recorded in the cash book. Advertising costs correctly recorded in the cash book, which means that cash book had 6.4, but advertising costs had 4.6. So cash book didn't have a problem. We credited cash book rightfully, but debited advertising costs with a lesser amount. That error will affect your trial balance. Eight, a payment to suppliers of 3,890,000 cash was only recorded in the cash book. This one is also as clear as day as number 5. It means cash book, everything was recorded, but the supplier's account was not. Was not credited, was not debited with this payment. Number 9, the depreciation charge on new furniture and fittings acquired during the year of 2,625,000 was omitted in the books of accounts. So when we shall look at current assets rather than non-current assets, you appreciate the concept of depreciation. So for that now, you can leave out. So I would want you to go back to this question, try it out on your own. Please try to share your solutions with me before the next session. In the next session, the first thing I'll do is to present the answers to this journal entry, correction of journal entry, the errors. Don't prepare the suspense account, just do the errors. Don't prepare the suspense account. Those who can try to prepare the suspense account, go ahead and prepare it. Then I will deal with also the statement of corrected net profit. So let's end here today. We shall start here on Monday. I've shared the question on the group. Joseph, I've talked to CPA Innocent to add you on the group. Then we shall share the question, I think, again. Joy, I talked to the admin and they are working upon that. She had asked me which topics we've covered so far. So kindly be patient with us. We are sorry for any inconveniences. But for the classes that, I think for the topics we've covered so far, The pre-recorded classes that are there, I think they have allowed access to up to the topics that we've covered so far, because they always log. They move with us. As we move in the sessions, they'll allow you access to those particular topics that we have covered. All right, have a good night, and hope to meet on Monday.